LCARA HAMRadio presents a Time Machine Tuesday vintage video release.
Welcome to Lake Cumberland Amateur Radio Association. You can find us at LCARA.net, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram. If you're enjoying the videos we're producing here at LCARA, please help our club out by hitting that subscribe button. Also, give us some feedback on our videos. Click the like button, share with anybody who may find it interesting, and be sure and hit the bell icon to make sure you get notified of the next video release.
Hello folks, this is Chris, KY4CKP, and today we're out here in the Urban Assault Vehicle, and we want to take a quick look at the software from Icom. They make several applications actually for some of their different radios, but this one is the RS-MS1 Alpha for Android devices. They also make a version for iOS devices, the RS-MS1A. I don't have iOS devices to really test on, but I do have my Android phone and tablet, and we do have, of course, the Icom ID 5100A with the Bluetooth unit here in the car. And so we just wanted to take a quick look and kind of go over this a little bit. This is not new software. These applications, a lot of them have been around for certainly at least several years, but not everybody is aware of these. And so I just want to go over these and kind of show what they can or cannot do. Again, the RS-MS1I, I'm not sure what all they can do. We may see if we can get a hold of that and take a look at that, but we'll take a look at the alpha version for Android, and just kind of see what we can do. The main thing, and let's go ahead and fire up the software here on our tablet. I've already paired my tablet via Bluetooth to the 5100. Sitting right there. It's got GPS lock. The 891 is on in the background there. So we can see that we are in fact paired with the Bluetooth unit that is in the 5100. And so let's take a look at the menu system on this for a second. So if we take a relatively quick look at the menu system, we can see we've definitely got a few options in here. We'll go through quite a bit of this, but I want to point out some of the kind of the pros and the cons. Again, what this application can do, and a little bit about what it can't do. But we'll run through this. Let's kind of start and work from the bottom up, because towards the bottom, of course, you can see there we have exit the application, but also more of the settings and things. We'll kind of hit some of those first and kind of work our way towards the top, where it's more of the features and utilization of the software itself. So as you can tell at the bottom, exit. Then we've got Bluetooth. So you can do the initial configuration if you haven't done that yet. I've already done that. Again, the BT001 unit that's in the 5100, and we had that video just a little while ago. So this can work with, I believe it can work with, and I could be wrong, but I think it's the 9700, the 7100, the 5100, the 4100, and then the 51 handheld unit, the 31 level handheld unit. With the handheld units, non-Bluetooth units, they make a data cable that you could connect it to, and that could still be kind of interesting to have a tablet as your control head or your screen for even something like a handy talkie. So we've already connected here. Click OK. We'll go back to our settings. You can export your repeater list, your call sign, it does keep track of your receive history, and you could export that out and keep track of that. Put it into your, transfer it over to your QSL, whether you're doing QRZ or Logbook of the World or whatever you like to do for tracking your contacts. We can import a repeater list, a call sign. Now I do have an SD card in the base unit of the 5100, and with the additional updated list of repeaters and things. But you can add that to the software as well. And like I said, we'll kind of work our way up the list here. So we can do the import, the export, the application settings. Of course, you can tell it what radio you're working with, screen timeout, you know, the various kinds of metrics and how you want them reported. Do you want more the English style? Do you want the metric system style? Just whichever you want to do that. The receive notifications and so forth, because you can send and receive pictures and or text messages with this. URL to get access to your QRZ page or a repeater list or something, you know, your station Icom, offline map settings, and this is something we'll be taking a quick look at. This can be a really interesting feature of this software. It takes a little bit of work. There's a few videos out there on this. We might do a video specifically on how to do this. So I went to, and I used Google Maps Pro, which you can get at least on Windows for free, and was able to export a couple of maps for this. There's a little bit of a procedure on how to do it. There are some videos that document how to. And when you do that, and we'll be looking at those a little bit later, but when you do that, you can use those and it'll show you where you are on the map, you know, with the GPS functionality in the radio. So we'll take a brief look at that a little bit later. Again, your symbols and things like that. So those are the application level settings. The offline maps can be a pretty interesting thing, and we'll kind of take a look at that. Transceiver settings, you can change the power setting and a few other things. I'm not going to go real deep into just all the digital stuff per se, but we can demonstrate the power settings real fast. Notice that it says it's on high. If we come over to the 5100, notice it says on the main active unit, it says it's on high. Well, what if we go under the output settings? What if I decide I'm real close to the repeater, I only need low power? Well, look at that. It changed the head unit. It changed the 5100 to low power. So there are some settings you can control from the software. Now, it's not everything, and we're going to kind of get into that, but there are some things you can change. So some of the digital stuff, in the GPS, whether you're using internal or external GPS. Of course, this particular radio has the built-in GPS, so that's what we're set up and using. The data, for sending pictures and things, if you want to try to send it a little bit faster. We'll talk a little bit about that. So you got a little bit right there on the transceiver settings. Now the repeater list. One of the cool things about the repeater list, now I'm in Kentucky, and normally we are considered the southeast area of the U.S. They've got us in the northeast area. That's okay. Just don't tell us as far as sports and things go. But scroll down and you can start to see the Kentucky repeaters come up. All right, so we just had a quick cut there, recording outside, and sometimes things happen when you're recording outside in the real world. But you've got your list here. We can update our list, and we're going to take a look at what we can do with the repeater list that we have on the radio, and again a little bit on the control we can have on the radio here in just a minute. Of course, you can have your call sign and repeaters and things programmed into there. We can look at our call sign, and right now WW4KY on there. Some of the settings. Again, your receive history. Now, I haven't really been using this with that. Unfortunately, here where I live, there is a DStar repeater, and unfortunately, and it's in a great location. It's up on top of a very tall building, the tallest building in town, and there's other repeaters up there, 2 meters and so forth, and they can have great coverage 30, 40 miles away and whatnot. But the DStar repeater has problems with transmission and so forth, and so it's not very viable at the moment. And I can't easily reach here from the mobile rig. I don't think any of the others. I would have to get a little closer to them to reach those. But again, you could see any receive history, and we saw that we can do the import and export, or the export of the receive history. Now, let's take a look at the map first before we talk about offline maps. So we've got the GPS is on the main unit. Notice the little satellite symbol is solid. So we have GPS lock up there. And we can open up the map on the unit, and it can show you where you are on the map. So we got the little truck symbol. Yeah, center that a little bit. We got the little truck symbol, and that's, you know, that's pretty close to where I am. And you could share that information with other folks if you're doing emergency communications. Not everybody does that kind of stuff, but you can share that. Or if you're trying to help find people, you're out trying to get to a specific camping spot or whatever it might be. You know, that kind of stuff could be handy to kind of share your location. So it's got that mapping feature. Of course, you can zoom in and you know, and zoom out and move it around just like you can and would expect to be able to with almost any kind of mapping type application there. Now let's go and talk about the offline map, because this is where things can get pretty interesting. So we saw earlier in the settings I had a couple of these maps, right? So let me bring up basically the county that I live in, at least most of the county I live in. This is a pretty high definition map from, again, Google Maps Pro. And I left some of the tags and things on there. You could take all those off before you do the save and export, or however you want to do it. But you can do some pretty interesting things with these maps. Now, I don't have everything set up, but I just wanted to import a couple of quick maps and kind of show that. And you can zoom a little bit on these and get a little better detail. But one of the things you can do with these maps is you could create maps, pre-done maps for grid squares and searching. You could put your own squares on there. Takes a little bit of effort. Use a little simple graphics program, and you can put your own grids on there, and you can set up search coordinates or search grids. Again, if you're doing potentially search and rescue, or you know, setting up patrols for something, or you know, we've worked public events for bike rides and runs and things where sometimes there's not good cell service or whatever it is, and amateur radio can, you know, help, as we know, provide emergency communications. For safety and security and protection. And so you might put on the map and put markers on the map for where each of your comm setups are going to be, you know, at the checkpoints or whatever it is. And of course, with the GPS, you can actually track yourself on the map. If there's somebody who's moving, you could track them on the map. If they're going to be running a circuit or something, and then you can just kind of keep track, okay, where are they on the circuit? Oh, they're about to approach, you know, checkpoint 2 or something. So there's some pretty interesting things you can do with this. This feature of the application by itself, I think could be pretty interesting for folks to take a look at. So it's one of the things I wanted to point out about this software was this ability to have the offline maps and a little bit about what you can do with them. You can generate them very highly customizable. There's a few videos that kind of get into that already. And you can do some interesting stuff with that. So I just had a couple of them here. We could take a look at the other one. This is produced down fairly close to where our repeater location is, which is about an hour and 15 minutes drive time for me. Up here towards the top is where our repeater is. You might be able to tell on this picture with the Google Maps. There's a very tall commercial tower. You might be able to see it relatively in the center of the screen in that clearing. And our 100-foot tower is just off to the side of that. But that's a 1,000-foot tower, something like that, right in that location. But again, you could have that on there. You could mark a route, checkpoints, all kinds of kind of interesting things could be done with this potentially. And of course, as we saw, it has the live maps as far as where you are and what's happening in. You know, I would call it near real time, but pretty close to real time operations. And again, you see a little truck icon is pretty close to right where I am. So it has some pretty cool stuff. Now, the other thing that can be cool about the software, and this, unfortunately, I can't really demonstrate. I don't have any other Icom radios that I could use with this. I don't know if any of our members have any of the Bluetooth units or the data cables for. I know we have some 5100s. I know we have some 51As and some other handhelds. We may have to try to put something together for that if those members are interested. But through this app, and if you have another radio and somebody with the app on their phone or tablet or whatever, you can send text messages. and it'll send it via the radio. Now, with the text messaging and the pictures, as we'll see, just sort of the interface here, we can actually move over to it. Share pictures. A little bit more interesting to look at. When you use this, or when you send these, you're sending through a repeater. Okay, the DStar repeater. So you're taking up repeater time, just as if you're normally keying down on the mic and you're talking, having a QSO with somebody. When you're sending data, whether it's text or pictures, and kind of a little bit particularly with the pictures, you're keying up and you're using that repeater to digitally send. So you want to be aware of that, because if you go with a little bit more highly detailed picture, you could pick something out of a gallery or whatever it is. You might have taken a picture, like I said, you might share your map picture, okay, and it'll bring it in. But you want to, you're going to want to keep it as small as is practical. You're going to want to potentially lower the resolution of it, because we're not talking high-speed internet access like we're used to on the internet today. You've got your 3 speed settings and your different sizes. Now, if you do high quality and 640 by 480, which is not, full HD quality, but they would be, it would be a fairly decent picture, but it's also more data that has to be sent. It'll take more time on the repeater. It'll take longer to send it. Now, there's times where that might be necessary, but there's times where you might just want to kind of just send somebody sort of a thumbnail of something, or a little bit lower resolution, maybe a what they call standard kind of medium resolution. So whether you're at the scene of an accident, you're trying to report something, or you're a weather spotter, there's all kinds of potential uses for that. But just be aware, again, that you're going to be transmitting through the repeater, and it's as if somebody has keyed down on the repeater until that transmission ends. So it is going to sort of tie up the repeater. Now, the other thing about text and the pictures, this is not direct communications. You can, when you send this out, you're sending it to the repeater, and so anybody who's on that repeater and would have the app or whatever, they're going to receive it. It's not private, right? You're not sending it privately to somebody. So something to be aware of with that as well, right? It's not really meant for private communications, but you could send things, and if it's not something you're worried about, privacy. Not that there's guaranteed to be folks who have the application, have it open, maybe look at it or whatever, but they would receive it. It's just going to go to the repeater, and as a repeater does, it's just going to kind of broadcast it to whoever's available and listening. But again, some pretty interesting capabilities potentially with that. And then, of course, the digital. We have some digital control for the radio. So what I wanted to show here, right? So we're on the tablet. What I wanted to show here, notice it shows that we're on the Union repeater WW4KY 444-950. What are we on the radio? Wow, 444-950, right? So if we come over and we click on that and we go to our repeater list, what if I want to change? What if I want to go to Richmond? Well, now we're on the different repeater, right? 442-8125. Hey, look at that. 442-8125. Right? It can actually change where you're tuned to. Now, the other thing that we can do, if we go under volume and squelch, notice that we're not hearing anything out of either of the radios right now, because I have a little bit of squelch on. I could manually turn the squelch down. All right, we can hear that. What's this slider over here do? Look at that. You can actually control squelch right here on the tablet, and volume right there on the tablet. So, if you hear something that's just barely able to break the squelch, it sounds interesting, you might manually lower the squelch down. You wouldn't have to, like maybe get up from the campfire, walk over to the car, lean in, manually adjust things. You can do it from right here in the application. So I just want to show a little bit about what this thing can do. That's pretty much all the main settings for this. Again, we can see the list right there. maybe a fairly slow pan. But I do want to talk a little bit about, what's here and what's not here. There are some stuff missing from this application, at least in my opinion. The application is not new. This application is several years old. I know at least the beginnings of this has to go back 5, 6, maybe 7 years. And maybe it's changed a little bit, but I know even at least in the past 3 or more years, I'm not sure it has changed any. It's a really great start to giving us some remote control of our radios through Bluetooth, through a phone, tablet. But I'm sure some of you can already think about additional features you might like to see, like maybe the ability to put your 5100 into crossband repeat mode, or take it out of crossband repeat mode. Some things like that. I don't know if Icom's going to be putting any further engineering effort into this application. I really wish they would. And I know they've got other applications. I know the HF radio, the 7300, KY4 BDP Brian has done a video on that and how he can remote control that radio. I think, with that being a newer radio, in essence, it's a newer application, of course. And I know that I think they have 1 or 2 other apps for some of the radios. I really wish they would come back and spend some time with this one, because the 5100 has been a very popular radio and still is. I just got this one recently, and it still does some great features and has great audio. And of course, a lot of folks have phones and tablets and Bluetooth, and you can, as we saw in the video, put a Bluetooth unit in the 5100. And you can even use data cables for the handhelds. So I wish they would, come back and put some more features into the software. So it has some interesting capabilities. Work with volume and squelch. You can change your tune, get your list of repeaters. The mapping feature is pretty cool. There are some interesting things you might do with that mapping feature, and texting and picture share with other Icom users with the application. That can be interesting. If you have, at least one other person that you might share some things with. So it has some pretty cool features, and you have your phone or your tablet, which a lot of us are going to have one or both of those with us, whether we're camping or on, doing a POTA activation, or just whatever kind of radio activities we're doing. I mean, the one thing about the 5100 is it does have a really nice big screen. So here in the car, it's easy to see. Now, the 891 Yaesu, as an HF rig, it has a pretty good size screen. It's a pretty nice screen. Of course, it doesn't flicker like that in person. But look at that comparison. The 891 is known to have a pretty good size screen as a mobile rig, and then, it doesn't even compare to the 5100. But that doesn't really compare to this tablet either. This is an 8.4-inch tablet. So I just wanted to bring this to folks' attention, because even though it's years old, I was not immediately aware of it, and I think a lot of folks are still not really that aware of it. And at least now, there's a recent video. That was the other thing I noticed when I did some research, is that there weren't very many very recent videos. I think one of the more recent videos by Eric down in Florida is still a good year or 2 years old now. So this is the most recent version of the application. This is what it can or cannot do. It does have some pretty interesting features, but it does seem to have some maybe fairly glaring omissions. But check it out. If you've got one of the Icom radios, you might want to check it out. Either get the data cable, or you've already got that, or put the Bluetooth unit in, or you've already got that. And see if there's some things in here that you might like. Again, the ability to change your tune, change your volume, your squelch, sending pictures and text messages, that could be interesting and fun and useful for different things. And the mapping, not only the live mapping, but the offline mapping. Those could be some pretty interesting and useful features if you put your mind to it. So we're going to wrap this one up. This is Chris, KY4CKP, for Lake Cumberland Amateur Radio Association 73.